Okay, so on this one, we have this fraction. And so basically, here's the deal. When you have a real number, when you have an imaginary number on the bottom like this, you have to get rid of that imaginary number. So what do we do? So let me write a note. When there's I in the denominator, what you do is you multiply top and bottom by the I term. So in other words, I'm going to come in here and multiply top and bottom by 5i. So when you have an I in the denominator, the way you handle it is you multiply top and bottom by whatever you had in the denominator. Exactly what you have by the I term. By the I term from the denominator. Now, you remember, whenever we mess with a fraction, we have to do the same thing to the top that we do to the bottom so that we don't change the real value of the fraction, right? So we're always doing that. Making it look different without being different. So I'm doing top and bottom. All right. And so what do I get then? Boom, boom. I get 15i plus 15i squared over 25i squared. We pause there for a minute. You see what happened there? So I multiplied the top and the bottom by 5i. We got 15i plus 15i squared. Right? The 5i went to 3 to make 15i, and 5i times 3i is 15i squared. On the bottom, 5i times 5i is 25i squared. All right, now what do we do with those I squareds? Do we leave them? They become -1. Remember that? Let me go and write a note on that on the side. It's super important. Come up a lot. We leave regular I as just regular I, but replace I squared with -1, huh? We leave plain i's as plain i's. Won't do anything with them. But I squareds, that 2 power removes the root, doesn't it? And it just becomes -1. So therefore, this is going to be 15i, I'm just going to leave that I, plus 15, but then that I squared right there, -1, huh? And on the bottom, same kind of thing, isn't it? It's going to become 25, and then that I squared in the bottom is also -1. So both those I squareds we replace with -1, but the plain I, we just leave as plain I. Now that means we have a little more work to do here. So this is going to become 15i minus 15 over minus 25. See what just happened there, right? 15 times -1 is -15, and 25 times -1 is -25. Okay, so now what? Well, now we can separate this into 2 fractions. 15i over -25 minus 15 over -25. See, I just separated that with a common denominator. Let me see what happened there, right? I just put each of these separately over the denominator. Common denominator, kept the minus in the middle there. Okay, now what? Now we reduce these fractions. Divide top and bottom by 5. So we're going to get -3/5 I. Plus, why plus? 2 negatives. And divide by 5 again. 3/5. See what happened right there? I just reduced those fractions. That is divided top and bottom by 5. Top and bottom by 5. Now, a minus that's on a fraction can come to the front, can't it? When you have a minus on the fraction, just one minus sign, it doesn't matter where it's at, top, bottom, front, whatever. It's all the same thing. Whereas right here, we have two minuses. So those two make a plus, don't they? Those two minuses together made a plus, right? So now, what did they ask me to do on this problem? Well, if you look back at the beginning, they said, write your answer in the form A plus BI. So how do I do that? Well, I'm almost done. They want me to write A plus BI, which means they want the I part in the back, don't they? So that means I just swap these. I just go, okay. So it's 3/5 plus negative or minus 3/5 I, whatever either way. Like that, right? I just put the I part in the back. Why? Because they told me to. Up here, right up here. They said, please write it in the form A plus BI, right? Put the I part in the back, please. And I said, oh, okay. All right, I'll put the I part in the back. So therefore, here's my A. So my A is the 3/5. My B is the minus 3/5, isn't it? My A is, I come back up here and I go, okay, A. Oops. My A is the 3/5. My B is the minus 3/5 right down here, like that. So let me recap on this one more time before I close this down. So whenever you have an I in the denominator, what you have to do to handle that is you have to multiply top and bottom by that exact denominator, right? Got to do the same thing top, bottom of fractions so we don't change the value. Distribute on the top, multiply on the bottom, and then when you get I squared, we never leave those, we replace them with -1. So then we get to this, and then we just separate it into two fractions, reduce those fractions. Remember, two negatives make a positive on a fraction, doesn't matter where they're at. And then you just reorder them, you want the I at the back. And so then you can tell what the A and the B are. And there we go.